I wanted to share this with you guys. Been waiting a long time on this. It's been a real journey over the years. My cardboard play button finally came from YouTube. Really a sense of accomplishment. I couldn't have done this without each and every one of you. Thank you. Actually, this is a little late. I could have done it technically without 21 of you. Ta-da! But what is it? It's Puzzle Paws. But what is it? From our offices in Oslo, we announced the 2020 Nobel Prize for Leisure Pursuits to Puzzle Paws. You might not know this, but people like to do puzzles. It's kind of a meditation. It's kind of a pastime. And it eats a table, and it can eat a whole table for a long time while you're trying to do it, while you keep coming back to it, and you can't take it anywhere, and it'll eat the whole table. Well, friends, meet Puzzle Paws. Puzzle Paws is a place that you do your puzzle that isn't on the table. That way, you don't have it on your table, you can move it. Puzzle Paws also comes with not just one beautiful tray, but 2 trays, so that you have a tray for your pieces that are turned over. You got to turn over all the pieces and you want them to stay that way. And Puzzle Paws also has a lid. So when you want to take a pause on your puzzle, these pieces go together in a tidy way. Like so. And the lid goes on top, like so. And these handy dandy little dogs in the corners keep everything nicely tucked together, so that Puzzle Paws can move anywhere you want and the pieces don't fall out or turn over. You can put it away, you can bring it out. It's a revolution in puzzle technology. Well, friends, it's not too late. You too can make yourself a Puzzle Paws for a gift or for your own puzzling use. And it's really easy because it's basically just 3 equal-sized rectangles of, this is hardboard, this is 5.5 millimeter hardboard, although you could use different sheets as well. But you make yourself 3 identical rectangles, and then the rest of the brains is in these 3D printed corners. So these parts are easy to print out of PLA or whatever, and they're just glued in place. And yeah, it's very easy to make one of your own. I'm going to show you how. The model for the Puzzle Paws is made in OpenSCAD, and if you don't know anything about OpenSCAD, I really encourage you to look into it. For me, it's really great. It's not so much drawing as programming the objects, and that's really great because things become sort of automatically parametric. So in this case, the model is here shown in assembly mode, so we're seeing how things are going to go together. You can see that there's the well for the hex nut on the bottom, and you can see how everything stacks together. So one of the big things that might happen to you is that you don't have the same kind of sheet material that I have. So if your sheet material is thicker, you can adjust the sheet thickness here. So let's say it was actually 8 millimeter thick sheet. The model sort of immediately reconfigures for that. So when this is properly modeled, there's a way to print all the pieces in one go with this print set module, and that makes all of the parts you're going to need for a complete Puzzle Paws, and everything's kind of ready for printing from here. So, and in the blink of an eye, the parts are ready for assembly. Another part that you'll have is this corner jig that helps you mark out the corners very accurately, so that you can cut those out very accurately. It really helps the precision of the whole thing. You're trying to hit a couple millimeters on the dimensions, so these little corner jigs really help a lot. So when we got those cut out, we can do a little dry fit and make sure everything's going to fit together properly before we start putting it together. I used a saw to kind of roughen the surface to help the glue stick. This hardboard is pretty smooth. A trick that I used was working on kind of a box stand. It lets me access all the edges that I need to put this thing together. And I used 5-minute epoxy for the corners and get everything all set up to go. I'm using clothes pegs to clamp everything together while the glue sets. That worked really well, and you don't need much clamping force, and having a few dozen of these clothes pegs is easy. And the rest for the other layers, and that's the main part of the assembly done. And when those get a chance to set up, you can fit all the parts together, make sure everything's okay. And the only thing left to do is to put it together with this is sized for a 632 machine thread. Canada's metric, but building materials are still in old-timey figures. I ripped these strips out of a 2x4. They're just really thin strips, and the important dimension here is that they are flush with the flange here. So this is really, we're hitting that puzzle thickness dimension. And using a miter saw, it's really easy to cut these pieces to fit inside the 45-degree corners and get a nice perfect fit up with all those pieces. And once they're really tidy and you're happy with them and you fine-tune them, you can glue them together with some white glue. I've started applying white glue with a syringe, which is a really accurate way, and plus I buy my glue in giant jugs. I don't have a bottle. And then clamp all that stuff together with a million clothes pegs and let it dry, and you are done. Well, so that's everything you need to know to make your own puzzle paws. Have a Merry Christmas of your own. You can get the STLs from my Thingiverse page. Check out the Thingiverse page because there's a bunch of crap there. And you can get the code itself from my GitHub. You're going to find links down in the description. And yeah, if you like my stuff, please subscribe. No strings attached. And I promise not to bother you with junk or sponsored content. Who's going to sponsor me? You know what I'm saying? Merry Christmas, everybody. In an upcoming video, I'm going to talk about this homemade air filter. It's really got a lot of promise in fighting, infectious diseases, and I got some other plans for a high volume, low pressure, sterile air supply. These are pretty simple. I'll just show you what's going on inside here. The clever among you might need no more documentation than this, but having made about 5 of these so far and used them for years, there are some finer points. Another project I got on the go is this semi-portable 2-person sauna, and I'm going to try to power it with one of these 12-volt diesel parking heaters. Theoretically, that's 5 kilowatts of power.